Okay, here's not what I was going for, but as you're driving down the roads, have you ever noticed how many times you got to avoid a pothole? This glorious time of the season, we recognize this full well in this part of the country, right? So we know that potholes are going to get bigger. They don't get smaller this time of year. And unless they get filled in, you're pretty much going to find yourself avoiding a massively huge hole that if you don't, will eventually take out your tire. But if that's what your head looked like with all those holes in it, would there be a lot of problems? And I'm talking figuratively, not literally. Could you overcome those situations? If you constantly came across a situation where you forgot something or something was bothering you and you're trying to think through it through knowledge and brain waves, would it really cause much of a problem? I'm assuming probably not. You find a way to overcome because, like most humans, we learn to adapt, we learn to deal with difficult situations, we work through it, we figure out ways around it, or we find ways to fill in the gaps and make things happen. We're just that way. We're adaptable. No matter what the situation is, whether we think we are or not, we actually are very adaptable people. But I want to change this up and move from the head down to the heart. And ask you the same question. If your heart was a road, then what would it look like? Would your heart be flat? Would it be full of holes? And when I'm talking about the heart, I'm not talking about the physical thing that's pumping in your body right now. I'm talking about when the Bible talks about your heart of hearts, meaning your soul, deep down, everything that you are, the breath of life, God within you, all that stuff. If there's holes in the midst of that, what are you looking like? This sort of thing starts to become a little more difficult because in that situation, it's not as easy as the head. The head can cause a lot of issues, yes, but if your soul has holes in it, it looks like a, we'll say I-94 in the winter time. What's going to happen to you? How easy is life going to be? What's going to happen when all of a sudden that next storm moves in and it freezes up that hole, makes it grow wider and bigger, and as cars drive over it more and more, it just gets wider and wider and wider. When you think about it in that perspective, when you think about all the things that happen in life, when they start hitting us again and again and again, we just feel to the point that we're broken. And yet our soul, deep down within us, is full of holes because it's just shot after shot after shot, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. How in the world do you overcome that? Because I'm going to say that's not as easily fixable as the head. People think it is. You know, when you look at the world around us, we look at all these people out there that are running around kind of like that situation. Their soul is kind of full of holes. They're struggling. They're asking questions about truth. They're asking questions about how to live. They're asking questions about what life is really all about. What's going to happen after death? This and that. All these questions are out there being raised. Concerns about whether God is real or not. What is real truth? All this stuff going on around us. And the problem is, if these people start searching for answers in different places, those holes in their soul are getting bigger and bigger. But for Christians, we're not really a whole lot different. Because at times in our life we ask the same questions. Is God really real? Whether you acknowledge that you asked that question in your life or not, I promise you, you have at some point. Because something happened that you were not expecting that made you stop and ask, God, if you were a loving God, this would not have happened. Hole number one. But the problem that happens with that hole is even as Christians, if we don't deal with the situation, we don't deal with the problem, that hole starts to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And soon enough, we get to a point where we don't know how to respond in different situations because it's a struggle. So what do we need? Well, everybody loves those good old orange barrels on the roads, right? Everybody loves seeing those roving patrols as they're out there filling the potholes with that, whatever they're filling it with. Tell you, kids don't like orange. I thought kids liked orange. Guess not. All right, fine. When you think about that perspective, thinking about the Department of Transportation going out and doing that, I'm going to put it, kind of off the wall here. Who is our Department of Transportation? God, Jesus, right? It seems odd because a lot of us complain about the Department of Transportation, right? We hate construction. We hate being stuck behind those roving patrols that are filling the potholes. We hate them when they fill the potholes because then it just sticks to our cars. We complain about every aspect of the Department of Transportation. So it seems really odd to put God in that perspective, but in reality, when we think about filling the holes in our life, who is the only one that actually can fill that hole? And it is God. God knew this from the beginning. As soon as Adam and Eve took a bite of that fruit, he knew there was a massive hole that was just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And he knew there was only one way to fill it. And he promises this morning, this fruit from the stump of Jesse. A very familiar text from Isaiah chapter 11. This promise from Isaiah, as Isaiah is coming to the people saying, you are full of holes. Your soul is cut in half. You are deceptive. You are deceitful. You are turning against God left and right. You are just horrible people. And guess what? Your end is near. But hey, this is where the fun comes, right? Because imagine being Isaiah the prophet going in and laying out that message and coming and saying, but you know what? This root's going to come up from the stump of Jesse. And it's going to be this great and glorious thing, this wonderful thing that's going to happen. And if you're sitting there listening to Isaiah with that gloom and doom, and then next thing all of a sudden he says, this root's going to come, what is your first thought? Isaiah, you're off the rocker, get out of the way. But in this text we have this promise, don't we? As we go through life and we start dealing with difficulty after difficulty, we face extreme situations. They impact us in such a way that a lot of times we don't pay attention to how we actually are impacted. And yet often we don't think of what these promises within the Bible actually tell us. Because we hear this promise of Isaiah, this root that will come up from the stump of Jesse, this root that's going to come up, this root that brings nourishment, this root that gathers what the tree needs to live. This root that gives it strength. It's going to come up and basically take care of everything, make this tree grow into something fascinating, something massively huge. And when we think about an aspect of our lives and our soul, as this root comes into us, what is that root doing? Have you really ever stopped and thought about the aspect of what Jesus is actually doing in our lives? And a lot of times we take him with us. We say, God, we're doing this. Please come with me. God, I need help with this. Please help me. God, this was awesome. Thank you. We have all these different moments in the aspect that we go to God in prayer. But in the midst of it, as we're not doing that, or we're not in prayer, we're not reading the Bible constantly, what is Jesus actually doing within us? This is what's awesome, is Isaiah promises this root. This is literally what Isaiah is saying. As we go through life, as we believe in God, whether we're constantly in His Word, constantly in prayer, constantly in that relationship or not, or sometimes it's struggling, sometimes it's got holes in it, this root is still there nourishing our life. This root is still there, giving us the nourishment that we need, absorbing that truth, that promise into our lives, into our heart, into our head, into everything that we are, telling us that no matter what we face in life, that root is still there, nourishing us, strengthening us, giving us what we need, because in God we have that strength. This is the joy of Isaiah having the opportunity to say this. Yes, he's bringing gloom and doom, but he has the opportunity to say, this is who God is, this is what God's about, this is what God is giving us, this is our nourishment, our life, everything that we are. This is our God, our power. He fills the holes in our lives. He takes away the pain. He takes